Hi guys, welcome, and who dat? I'm Joe, and I'm glad you've come to the channel, Rosenfield 10, where I cover the Saints. I'm a little late getting this video out. We've got a hurricane coming to us right now. This is Tuesday afternoon. The storm should hit tomorrow night, and I'm scheduled for work this afternoon. I'm going to have to go into work and drive in this mess coming home, and it's just the life of being in Louisiana. Everybody's sheltering. Everybody's got all their preparations. Some people are evacuating. And I'm about to go to work, but until I get there and do my service for the day, I'm going to talk about this victory the Saints had. Saints 47, Carolina 10. Now, you guys have seen all the videos post-game, and we all know what's happened, so nothing I'm going to say here is new. But I thought I should at least let you guys know where I was at and how I'm feeling now. So before the game started, I was thinking Saints would win. I had settled on a final score of 23-13. And part of me was thinking maybe 26-17, something like that. I thought we would win comfortably by 2 scores. And I was only certain of really two things, that the defense would hold Carolina to under 20 points. And this is something the defense needs to do. All year last year, as long as our defense held a team to under 20 points, we were in it. But our offense has to find a way to score more than 20 points. It's basically for every game. That's what I'm thinking. Our defense is good enough to hold a team to under 20 points. Our offense is just good enough to get over 20 points. So let's find a way to win. That's all I care about. We could have beaten Carolina by 1 point, and in the stats, under that win-loss column, it would be the same thing. So I'm not the kind of person that says, well, Carolina's so awful that, you can't really give the Saints props. There's a lot of people, Saints fans, that might have thought the Saints were going to lose this game. We all thought it would be a lot closer, I'm pretty sure. So, only thing I have to go on are the facts. And the fact is that right now the Saints are in a great position. 1-0. We scored more than any other team in the league. Number 1 scoring offense. What am I supposed to say? These are the facts. Our offensive line looked great. So we were under when I say great, I mean, we thought they were going to be below average. So if they can have an average to pretty good output, that's great for me. And we were told that Clint Kubiak's system should mask some of the deficiencies, and it seems like after this first game, that's exactly what it did. Derek Carr looked comfortable. He was completely he was accurate. He was on point. He was fast. It works. You look at the PFF grade for the offensive lineman across the board, and yeah, there's nothing to really get nervous about. I mean, I was used to these guys having awful ratings every game, and I believe center Eric McCoy might have been the highest rated player that PFF had. I'll mention PFF grades every now and then just to let you know where the Saints stand. Some of you don't care about that, but some of the measurables we got to go on. So, yeah, Clint Kubiak is got to be the headline story here. I mean, he gave us a system, a scheme, masked our deficiencies. It put our players in a position to be successful. We have a competent football team. And if you give them a really bad system with no intention or direction, then yeah, they can look pretty bad. Apparently, they can also look really good too. And what I like the most about it is that Kubiak was able to use the playmakers on this team, and he put them in positions to succeed. I mean, Taysom Hill only had 21 touches in the game, six touches. 21 plays is all Taysom ran. And that was like by halftime, and we were up 30-3, and there was no reason to put him out there anymore. And Kamara got out of the game kind of late. All of the starters were out of the game by the fourth quarter, basically, except for our offensive linemen that needed more work. And it's what can you say? 9 drives, 9 scores. We had 4 touchdowns, 4 field goals. Didn't ever feel like we were in a bad position when we stalled out. We as soon as we got in the red zone, we scored a touchdown. We were perfect in the red zone at converting touchdowns. So I have no complaints about the offense at all. It looked great. Everything seemed to work the way that we were told it was going to work. Motion, play action pass. You wasn't sure what we were going to do. We had Taysom Hill at halfback, Taysom Hill at fullback, Taysom Hill at tight end. We lined up Rashid Shaheed in the backfield a few times, completely as a decoy. I'll tell you what I'll notice about Clint Kubiak's scheme is he was setting things up in this game for stuff that we're going to do 8 weeks down the road. When you see Rashid Shaheed in the backfield, you're thinking, okay, this is going to be a sweep, a toss. We're going to try to get him on the edge. You got to worry about it at any event. And basically what we did, I believe we ran a screen to him. And then after that, every time we put Shaheed in the backfield, and it was only a couple of plays, they had to worry about the screen. And that touchdown in the corner of the end zone to Juwan Johnson was evidence of it. Shaheed was in the backfield. Everybody came up thinking it was going to be a screen. They don't believe we're going to hand the ball off to Shaheed between the tackles. And when all those players came up, left Juwan in the corner of the end zone. So you could see everything working out. Like you can see them setting teams up that are going to look at us and try to figure out what to do. And you can tell by, the plays we ran that there's a lot more coming where all this came from. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be fun. And I think that's going to be the key to whether the Saints offense can continue to have a lot of success. I don't expect 47 points every game. I don't expect to score 9 straight drives every game. But I like what I'm seeing. I'm seeing Kubiak set the defense up. I'm seeing these looks, and you're not sure what we're going to do out of them every time. I'm seeing the offensive linemen performing very well in movement, in motion, getting to the second level, hitting their targets and creating space. This offensive scheme by Kubiak, what I'm seeing right now, it utilizes everybody in a really good place. We're talking about Adam Prentice, who I thought wouldn't fit in this scheme, is out there run blocking, hitting 2 players on the way for Jamal Williams' touchdown run. We're looking at Taysom Hill blocking, Taysom Hill catching the ball, Taysom Hill running the ball. Little wildcat thing going on every now and then. That was a crazy play. If you have Derek Carr and Taysom Hill and then you split out Derek Carr wide, well, that you're taking away Carr. He's not going to do anything on that play. So, but it still worked. Taysom got the first down. It's really interesting, and I love it. I love how our offensive line looked way better than I think we all know they are. The running backs look great. The tight ends look great. That's what this scheme can do. Chris Olave gets targeted twice for 2 catches, but he didn't have to be a factor in the game. We didn't have to give Taysom Hill the ball 20 times or 16 times or even that legendary 9 to 10 times. We gave it to him 6 times. We kept him in the huddle. We kept the defense confused. All right, it's just Carolina. Right. Well, Carolina's offense is the problem. Their defense isn't that bad. I think that Carolina's defense, when it's all said and done, is not going to be at the bottom of the league. So our offense putting up 47 points against a competent defense should get people excited. Carolina's defense is what's bad. Bryce Young looks pretty bad right now. I don't like to say that somebody sucks, they're awful, and then that's it. Some players just have a bad game, and then they can turn it around. Well, I know one thing. Carolina had a pretty awful game. Now, I worry a little bit because in my opinion, I believe Bryce Young isn't that good, and he's definitely not showing whatever he can show, whatever he showed at Alabama. I mean, Bryce Young, if Carolina would have had another quarterback who could hit the receivers instead of overthrowing all of them, if they had another quarterback who could escape the pressure better, and make quicker decisions, then this game would have been different. And that's actually the only thing I'm kind of worried about right now. I saw so much from the offense that I'm excited. It's the defense that kind of worries me, and I know that's wild. This defense is supposed to be what carries the team, and so that's what I'm worried about. Carolina's offensive line in the middle of the line did really good. Our defensive tackles had a hard time affecting things the way that we hoped that they would. Cam Jordan, he got a few pressures. Ryan Brissy, Nathan Shepard got a good play, a tackle for a loss. But overall, I can tell the middle of the defensive line struggled, and it's because Carolina's middle of the offensive line was pretty stout. Their tackles, on the other hand, so Chase Young, he ended up with like 2 quarterback hits. I think he had like 6 pressures, and that affects everything. And that's the kind of player I was thinking Chase Young might be, where when he finishes a season, he only has 7 sacks, 7.5 sacks, and you're like, well, you kind of expect more from a top 5 draft pick. But if you're affecting the play the way he did, 9 pressures, you can see Bryce Young having to move off his spot. Yeah, I loved it. I think the defensive line is going to be more effective than they were in this game. But yeah, the linebackers were fine. The secondary was exceptional. Once again, Marshawn Lattimore gets a little tweak in his hamstring, and no problem. We roll out Kool-Aid McKinstry and Paulson Adebo. We still got Alontae Taylor at the nickel, and the safeties all had a turnover. Will Harris, first defensive play, gets an interception. Jordan Howden gets an interception on an overthrow later on. Tyrann Mathieu forces a fumble and recovers it. Tyrann Mathieu was one of the top 5 PFF rated players on the team. Derek Carr was number 2. I think McCoy was number 1. Carr was number 2. And yeah, Tyrann Mathieu was one of the highest rated players. Alontae Taylor was rated really high. Good stuff. Good stuff. So, where are we at right now? The team, like I said in my last video, it probably won't be till week 8 before we really realize what this team is. And the reason why I say that is because I expect them to struggle and lose to the really good teams in the front of this schedule. So I expect them to lose to Dallas. I expect them to lose to Philly. I expect them to lose to Kansas City. But I was hoping we could beat Carolina, beat Atlanta, and then beat Tampa Bay, and at least be in control of our division. And before that Week 7 game against Sean Payton's Denver Broncos, I expect us to be 3-3. Now, if we beat our division rivals but we lose to those other 3 teams, you're still not quite sure what you have. And so that's where I'm at when I say it'll probably be week 8 before we really know, after game 8, before we really know what we have with this team. Well, there's one way that we can know for sure before then that we have a good team, and that's if the Saints continue to play like this. If we go to Dallas and find a way to win that game, if we can host Philly the week after that and find a way to win that game, or if we can go on the road to Kansas City and find a way to win that game, plus sweep our division opponents in these first 6 games, then you'll have an indication that we are pretty good. If we lose to a divisional rival, I don't want to say that means we're bad. Division rivals are division rivals. If we lose to one of these 3 great teams up front in the schedule, then I don't want to say we're bad, because those teams, apparently, they look pretty good right now. Tampa Bay looks pretty good right now. So that's why I say you have to wait until after game 8. But yeah, if we end up beating Dallas, finding a way to beat Philly, finding a way to beat Kansas City, you're going to feel like this team's pretty good before we ever get to that game against Sean Payton. And then in week 8, we go on the road to Los Angeles Chargers. So I'm thinking after that Chargers game, we're going to know really what we have after 8 games. And there is a chance, a big chance, that we're 4-4, 5-3. We might be 3-5. It's going to be tough. It's going to be hard to tell. So I'm excited. I think that this is Dennis Allen's 3rd year as head coach. First year he becomes head coach, we still have Pete Carmichael. We still have all of the players that Sean Payton had brought in. We're trying to figure out who's going to play quarterback. It was tough. He went 7-10. Now, as a head coach, he'd never been 7-10. His best record was 4-12. So he finishes 7-10. That's way better than what he did with the Raiders. But because he inherited a Sean Payton team, we thought he should have done a little better. The second year, it starts to become a little more of Dennis Allen's team because he brings his quarterback in. But we still have Pete Carmichael as an offensive coordinator. And we have a decent draft. We put a lot of those players on the team. Now this year, Dennis Allen's third year, is the first year that he's the Saints head coach where this is actually his team from top to bottom. I feel like the last remnants of Sean Payton is gone now. We have lots of players still on the team that Sean Payton drafted. But now this offense is Clint Kubiak's, and that's Dennis Allen's choice. And so now this is, in my opinion, year one of Dennis Allen in complete control of this team. I think of Dennis Allen in his situation with the Raiders, and sometimes I feel like anybody working for the Raiders doesn't really have control of the team completely. I'm not sure what was going on with Al Davis's kid or whatever, whoever was running the Raiders back then. They weren't very good. They never really got very good. They still aren't that good. So maybe now Dennis Allen is in a situation where he can actually do something he's never been able to do. He built the team up from scratch. This is his third year. He's winning a game instead of losing 4 in a row and getting fired like he did with the Raiders in his third year. He's winning the first game 47-10. I'm excited. I'm not saying Dennis Allen's a great head coach. I'm saying this is a situation we've never seen him in before, and it feels pretty good right now. So I'm going to base my emotions on what's happening, the facts. The facts of the matter are we're the number one scoring offense, You know who led the league this week in third down conversions? It was tied between the Saints and Tampa Bay. Can you imagine? There was only a couple of quarterbacks that did better than Derek Carr overall. I think Baker Mayfield for Tampa Bay was one of them. It's interesting. So we're going to see. I got to give props to Derek Carr. Yeah, but all of this goes back to Clint Kubiak. So we ran the ball 37 times. We only had 25 passing plays. So 23 passes by Carr, 1 by Hayner, and then Carr was sacked once. 25 passes, 37 runs. You have that kind of balance where you're running the ball that much more than you're passing, you're in complete control. And yeah, not sure if we'll be able to do that in a lot of these games, but we did it in this one. Alvin Kamara looked like old Alvin Kamara. He wasn't getting hit by the defensive lineman. He was getting 2-3 yards, 4 yards before he was hit. Then he was getting hit by DBs and linebacker. It gives him a better opportunity to break a tackle and make a bigger play. Foster Moreau at tight end did exceptional, his best game as a Saint. He got 4 catches, including that great touchdown where he mossed J.C. Horn. And he gets hurt on another incredible catch he made, but it was his blocking throughout the game before he got hurt that was a staple of our success as well. Juwan Johnson, who didn't hardly even practice, he gets out in the game. He catches 2 balls. He gets a beautiful touchdown. ESPN moment catch there in the corner of the end zone, and he blocked a punt. And pretty good stuff. I mean, for a guy that didn't even practice, I like what I saw from Juwan Johnson. He looked like he was playing pretty hard for a guy that went from the number 1 tight end to the number 3 tight end when we decided to throw you in the game and see what you can do anyway, even though you haven't really practiced that much. And to see the effort he put in on blocking that punt, beautiful layout, didn't touch the punter. It was just great. And apparently he just was thrown in there because whoever else was supposed to do it wasn't in the game. And Johnson did it. Great. Taysom Hill, like I said, his use. I would say Taysom Hill was the dog of the day just because of everything they asked him to do, even though he only ran 21 plays and touched the ball only 6 times. He was definitely a dog. Clint Kubiak's the dog. Everything runs through Alvin Kamara, though, and Alvin's the dog. But Taysom Hill was a dog, and Jamal Williams looked good too. I figured he'd average less than 4 yards a carry because he's always going to be a short yardage back, but he has a really nice run for a touchdown. And then, of course, the offensive line, Fuanga, 25 pass block reps, and he didn't allow a single pressure. He got flagged for holding once, but his run blocking was great as well. And even though Lucas Patrick got hurt, Landon Young went in at left guard, and we didn't miss a beat. Didn't even notice. I noticed Young in the game. Didn't notice that Patrick had left. But if you didn't see that it was Young instead of Patrick, you wouldn't have known. Then towards the end of the game, I know we put Oli Udoh in there. I think he was playing in the spot of Ruiz because we were just sitting some of our starters because we were winning by so much. Good stuff overall. I love Rashid Shaheed being used all over the field. I love that it seems like he's matured enough and learned enough in the system to be able to do all this motion in the lineup in the backfield, and his impact on special teams is there's a reason he went to the Pro Bowl. I mean, he looked sensational. Kick return, punt return, he's averaging 27 yards, 33 yards, on either one. He almost got a touchdown on one punt return. I believe Alontae Taylor stepped on the back of his foot, and that's why he was even tackled. Why Rashid didn't make the end zone. So, yeah, the linebackers, Demario Davis, Pete Werner, Willie Gay. Willie Gay looked active. Demario Davis was a stud. I didn't see Pete Werner that much. I haven't looked at the final stats as far as tackles and stuff, just hearing what everybody was saying. But the linebackers were solid. And the DBs, they did great. Blake Groupie, what can you say? 4 of 4. Kicks a 57-yarder to start, and then a 52-yarder, and then a couple of short ones, which was what pissed me off last year, was he was missing those 30-yarders. Well, I think he had a 32-yarder he had a 42-yarder he got, a 52-yarder, a 57-yarder. Great by Groupie. Matt Hayball, the punter, only had to punt a couple of times. The punts weren't that good, but I got to give Hayball credit for this. He's the holder now. Lou Hedley was the holder last year. Blake Groupie missed 7 kicks last year. Hayball's the holder this year. Blake Groupie nails all of them. Does that matter? I don't know. Does it matter to the kicker? If the kicker has a choice, who would you rather have him holding the ball? I'd rather Hayball. He does it every time better than Lou Hedley. Maybe that's a deciding factor. I don't know. No one ever talks about the holder and the long snapper. They're just supposed to do that every time perfectly. And if they do, great, and that's what you expect. Zach Woods, the best long snapper in the league. No, I don't remember him making one bad snap yet, and now we have a punter who can put the ball down for our little kicker, Blake Groupie, to use that little strong leg. So kudos to Hayball as well. Just get better at punting. Special teams coverage, Anthony Orji, what a stud. Khaleke Hudson got down there a few times, what a stud. JT Gray had a bunch of good plays except for one penalty. And Isaiah Foskey. And I have to call myself out. I said, what's the point of keeping Foskey? I keep hearing he's a special teams player. It doesn't matter. He's never really made a special teams play. Well, he went out there today, or Sunday, and made a few special teams plays. He was in on a few tackles. And hey, if that's what the 5th defensive end has to do to stay on this team, then it's justified. Keeping him on the roster is justified if he's going to be involved in 2 or 3 tackles on special teams. So good job, Isaiah Foskey. I mean, the only person that really let me down was Cedric Wilson dropping that punt, or not catching that punt. And I didn't see his run blocking throughout the game, so he may have made up for that in his efforts there. Hayball with his punting was a little down. I was a little down on that, but I mean, other than that, what can you say? Great job all around. And this is all we've got to go on right now, people. So 47-10. And I don't care that it was the Panthers. Their defense ain't that bad. If their defense was what was so bad, you'd understand putting up 47 points. Well, their offense is bad. They scored 10 points. Okay. Our defense needs to tighten up front. We need to lock down our coverage. There was a couple of plays where the play broke down for Bryce Young. He had to scramble. I saw a wide receiver get wide open, and Young missed him completely, and Howden got the interception. But what I noticed was the only person that was there to cover that receiver was Demario Davis, who ended up way out of position trying to cover this receiver. And because of a horrible pass by Young, it ends up a turnover for us. A good quarterback would have completed that ball. Good quarterback might have got the ball out before he ever had to run around to begin with. So those are my only concerns. I don't know how good Bryce Young is as a player. Right now, when he plays the Saints, he looks awful. And other quarterbacks would have done well. Could have. So NFC South, Tampa Bay looks great right now. That's the guys we have to worry about. Atlanta looks bad. They had a tough go at it with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I know the Steelers aren't supposed to be that good. Well, TJ Watt's pretty good. And also at quarterback, I don't know if they started the game with Russell Wilson. I know that they were forced to put what's his name in there. I always want to say Trey Lance. No, you guys know who I'm talking about. What's his name? Anyway, that guy can run around. And once he came into the game at quarterback, I thought to myself, Atlanta's going to have a tough go at it. Because this guy, Justin Fields, can scramble and make plays happen. And if the Saints would have been playing Pittsburgh, it would have been a totally different game for our defense. They would have been running around chasing this guy. And yeah, they would have held on. They would have had more time of possession because they would have been running a little more with the scrambling quarterback. And I'm just saying, it's the way a situation happens. So Atlanta couldn't figure out Pittsburgh's defense. Kirk Cousins couldn't figure out. I was thinking about a third quarter, they might pull them and put in their number one draft pick quarterback. So, Penix. So, yeah, people were mad they drafted Penix. They might be calling for Penix to start if Kirk Cousins keeps looking this bad. So, overall, for the NFC South, nobody really talks about this, but every team in our division has a new offensive coordinator this year. Atlanta's starting with a new one. Carolina's got a new one that used to be with Tampa Bay, so now Tampa Bay has a new one. And you expect offenses to struggle in this situation. Atlanta struggled. Carolina struggled. The Saints looked brilliant. Tampa Bay looked brilliant. So that's what we're going on right now. We've got to go to Dallas. Hopefully this storm blows through here, leaves no damage, and we don't lose our lights. And hopefully by, I'm going to say Wednesday, the storm hits at probably 7 at night. So I'm going to say hopefully we get lights back by Friday. And maybe the storm will slow down. Maybe the winds will break up and, it won't be too bad. Maybe we won't lose lights for long. We lost lights for 2 weeks for Ida. We lost lights for 4 days when it came to Katrina. 4 days was awful, but 2 weeks, way worse than 4 days. Ida hit home really bad. Katrina smacked us. Ida hit us even harder. This little guy, what's his name? Francine. What's her name? Francine. We'll see what she's got. So y'all take care of yourselves. Thoughts and prayers and everything else. I'm Joe. Subscribe to Rosenbill 10 for more videos like this about the Saints, and I will have more whistles and bells next week, hopefully. The storm's slowing things up right now, but hopefully I can give you a breakdown of this weekend's game with all my whistles and bells. And you guys subscribe and enjoy the content. I'm a family member. I'm a co-worker. I love the Saints. You love the Saints. I'll talk about it, how I feel. You guys leave your comments. Let me know how you feel. And until the next one, I'll talk to you later. Who dat? Go Saints.